In this video, we are going to demonstrate how we can take a production server that's installed with Continuity Engine and add standby servers for Tertiary. So let's get started. I'm first going to log into my engine management service. And now, as you can see, we have our test server here. As before, we installed Continuity Engine on the production server, and now it's configured, as you can see here, and it's also licensed. And now we're going to add a standby servers for Tertiary. Now, the wizard, in this case, we're going to build it from the ground up. We're going to start with our HA copy. So we're going to click on our channel. And in our channel, we're going to have a couple of IP addresses. We're going to set up the primary first. In this case, the production IP version 4 address. And so we're going to put it on the primary network adapter. There is no others, so we're just going to take the one that's default. And then we're going to add the IP address, 192.168.66. And then for the HA copy, 192.168.0.67. And as in with the other videos that you may have seen, the subnet mask will default, if nothing is put in here, to 255.255.255.0. Now let's build our HA node. So we're going to select automated cloning option. And this is because we have a vCenter that's already registered with Continuity Engine. And then we're going to select the host that we're going to put it on in the DC. In this case, the Austin DC. And also we're going to select the data store. Okay, so now our HA pair is configured. Everything is green here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to configure disaster recovery. So we're going to first start with the channel connection between the production server and the DR copy. So production is going to be 192.168.0.68. And the DR copy is going to be 192.168.10.68. And again, we can leave these blank because it has the same subnet mask. And now we're going to click on the DR copy, and we're going to create the IP addressing for this. In this case, we're going to have it as different from production. So the first thing we got to do is add an IP address for the tertiary server. That address is going to be 192.168.10.126. And then we're going to put our gateway address in, which is going to be 192.168.10.1, as this is in a different data center. Our preferred DNS will be 192.168.10.10. And then we're going to put our username and password in for the account that we will use to update DNS. Now we can use the administrator account, or again, as with the DR video, we can actually create a service account that has DNS admin permissions. All right, the checkbox means that we We have validated it. And now I'm going to tell Continuity Engine to power on the virtual machine once it's created. And now we're going to set up the host and data store. In this case, this one will go to our Kansas City data center, and I will put it on host number 3. We will set up also and this is the data store. Okay, and now all we have to do is create our channel between the HA and the DR copy. So in this case, we will have 192.168.0.69, and the DR copy will be 192.168.10.69. And notice now everything has turned green. So all of the IP addresses are in place. The configuration has been completed. And now we can just click next. And it will now give us the details of how we've built our cluster, the high availability configuration, and also the disaster recovery configuration. We review this quickly, and then we can hit the finish button. And Continuity Engine will start the cloning process, as the pop-up at the bottom says. And then if we go up to operations in progress, we can see that we are beginning to reconfigure the production server to be cloned. And there we go. We're reconfiguring Engine to participate in the extended cluster. We're now preparing the production server to be cloned. It's now becoming active ahead of the clone process. And now we're creating our secondary from the primary. The cloning operation is underway. Now, if we go into vCenter, we can actually see the new virtual machine being created, which we have it right here. We are 60% into the cloning process for HA. We're now at 92%, and in a moment, the cloning process will complete and vCenter will power on the server. And as you can see, that's completed. If I go back to the engine management service, status changes to powering on VM for the secondary. And then we should go into the auto configuration. Okay, the secondary is now powering up and starting its services. Okay, we have now replication going on between the primary and secondary, the high availability secondary. Now, if we go back to operations in progress, we now are cloning from secondary to tertiary. If I go back to vCenter, there's our new virtual machine that just got created. And we're about 33% into it now. So we've reached 90%, and in a moment, the cloning operation will complete. And our server, our tertiary, will power up, which it just did. And in a moment, we will have it begin the auto configuration process. There we go. So now the tertiary is starting its auto configuration. Continuity Engine's services are now starting on the disaster recovery server. And now all of the services are starting up across the entire cluster. Replication is beginning. And there we go. We now have a completed tertiary deployment of Continuity Engine, the primary and secondary being in our Austin data center, and the tertiary being in our Kansas City data center. And as you can see here, everything's green, everything's replicating. And that completes our demo of our tertiary deployment of Continuity Engine.